Hello my fellow rockers and artists. Today we are painting a garden lamppost, so stay tuned. So to start off with, I'm using a white and a light blue. You could use any color blue. You just need a blue that's really grayed down, and I did this by adding a little bit of brown. And then I'm just going to roughly paint in a sky area, and then I'm going to come down a little ways on the right hand side. And I'm going to do 2 layers of this and blow drying in between the 2 layers. So now I'm painting, this is layer number 2. And then I'm going to blow dry this, and I always blow dry my rocks on a low heat with just a hair blow dryer. And now that my rock is dry and cooled off, you don't want to paint on a hot rock. Now we're going to be working on the background, the leaves in the background, the trees, the distant trees. So what I'm doing is I'm making a gray, and then I'm going to tone it with a green, but it's more gray than green. You just want a hint of green. I'm kind of figuring out where I want things, and I'm just using this round blender brush. It's a number 6 by Princeton Select, and I'm just kind of dabbing on random leaf shapes. This is background leaves, so I'm really just covering the background, leaving breaks so that in the leaves so that you can see the sky behind there. Right now it's just pretty much getting coverage. This is all distant leaves, so there's no detail here. It's just kind of a mottled leafy background. You can see it's a very muted gray-green color. Now I'm darkening it up just ever so slightly. And remember, it's all about layering. And that's going to be brought up several times because there's lots of layers on this project, on this painting. And every time I reload my paintbrush, I change the color slightly. And that's what adds depth and interest to the background. So now I'm mixing up like a taupey brown color, and I'm switching my paintbrush to a, let's see, what was this? It's a number 3 round brush by Royal and Langnickel. So now I'm going to just put in some indication of some branches. I don't know how much of this is going to show up in the final results, but just in case, you want to have some indication of branches. Just a couple, you don't need a lot. And you don't need a lot of detail, just a couple of little lines indicating branches. I made this one just a little bit darker so that it looks like it's a little bit closer to the viewer. And that one back there is a little lighter to indicate that it's pushed further back. So now I'm back to mixing up another green, and what I'm doing is just darkening it up. I think I'm darkening. Oh no, I'm actually going to start down here. I don't need sky down this far. I brought it down just in case, but I need to just cover this all up with green. So I'm just going to kind of scrub in some color here. So now I'm doing little indication of leaves. And when I do leaves, let's see, how do I describe this? I'm making little X's and comma shapes, but I'm letting just the tip of my paintbrush kind of dance around the rock or the canvas. And my head is going to get in the way here, and it looks weird. It's raining outside. When I walked down here to my studio, I got my hair got all wet, so it looks weird. But just bear with me. I only do this during this portion, and I get it figured out. I get my head back out of the way. Now for this background portions, I'm using this bigger number 3 paintbrush, and I'm dancing my leaves on there with the commas and X's, and just letting my paintbrush just kind of dance across the surface. When I move to a smaller paintbrush, slow that down just a little bit, and I'm a little bit more specific with more, what is the word I'm looking for? Oh gosh. I don't know why. When I start recording, I always just lose my words. Anyway, y'all probably know what I'm trying to say. Are you screaming at me going, this is the word you're looking for? Oh my gosh. Jeez Louise. I'll remember the word like when this recording is over. I'm specific. Not specific, but just I'm just gonna give up. Anyway, you'll see. The leaves will be a lot more precise and look a little bit more like leaves. This is impressionistic, but we still want it to look like a tree. It doesn't have to look like a photograph, but we want the viewer to know what it is. We're not going for abstract. So I guess I was cleaning my paintbrush. So now we're mixed up a darker color, and you're not going to be able to see this. I am going to tilt this rock up. I'm going to put another rock underneath it to tilt it, to take the glare off of it, and you'll be able to see the colors more precisely. So but right now I'm just kind of putting color on there. I'm just covering up that black. I still cannot think of the word. Huh, that's going to bother me. Now I've switched to, this is a holotap, so it's HOLOTAP, and it's a 0. So now you can see the difference. These trees are going to be closer, so they're darker. And I still am painting my leaves. I want to paint my leaves quickly because it makes it more random, and I feel like it's more organic that way. But I'm still a little bit more oh my gosh. Oh, the word I need has just disappeared from my vocabulary. It's like more specific. That's not the word though. Not intentional. What is, oh my gosh. Well, like I said, I'll remember it like when I'm on my way back to the house. I'll be like, oh, that's the word I was looking for. Jeez. That's going to bother me for the rest. I'm going to be so distracted by the fact that I can't think of the word. Anyway, so again, we're just doing random strokes. These are little commas and X's. And every time I go to reload my brush, I like to change the color up a little bit. That adds depth to the painting so that it doesn't look so flat. So now I've got my Liquitex black. This is that airbrush paint that I use on almost every rock. And now I'm going to just freehand in the lamp. Now, I have included in another post the line drawing for the lamp. Not for the background or anything, but just for the lamp itself, so that you don't have to freehand it if you want to paint this rock. So I just have to kind of work out the shape and the lines. This is the second time I've painted this rock. The first one I painted on my round rocks, my paperweight rocks, and I recorded that for y'all, and it was going to be a Patreon exclusive video, and then I realized I painted the rock and I thought I was recording the whole time, but I did not hit record. So this is the second time I've painted the rock. So now I have two of these. One is the paperweight rock and one is this flat rock that sits on that stand it was just standing on. So I do have two of these. One will most likely be a future giveaway, and the other one will probably end up on my Etsy page. So now I'm just painting in the post for this. Deliberate. That's the word I'm looking. My strokes are more deliberate. I think that's the word I was looking for. If not, it'll work. As I move forward in my paintings, my brush strokes become more deliberate instead of so random and kind of on the fly. And if you look at this rock compared to the other rock, the lantern looks different. I just kind of paint whatever I feel at the time. So they both have like different tops, top shapes. And I had to set it on the stand to make sure that everything was straight, because I tend to, when I need to paint a line, since I'm right-handed, I tend to lean things over towards the right, so, or more towards the left, I guess. So I had to make sure that my lines were straight. So now I'm taking that light blue, and it's kind of a light gray blue, and I'm using that as kind of my highlight for black. If you've watched any of my videos, you know I like to use blue to highlight black, blue or purples, something in that range, to highlight black, as opposed to using a gray. Especially in like hair and fur, like on animal fur. Blue always makes things look shiny. Gray makes them look old and dusty, kind of dingy. So, and in dog fur or cat fur or animal fur, whatever kind of animal, it's not just specific to dogs and cats, but gray will age them, where blue will make them look shiny. And that's just where, you know, as artists, it's kind of taking artistic liberties or license, you know, and doing what you want, doing whatever makes you feel good. So now I'm taking kind of a light yellow, like a butter yellow, and I'm painting in the panes of glass. Now if you wanted to make this look like see-through glass, mine are frosted and not see-through, but if you wanted to make them see-through, you could do a glaze in like a very light blue and just hit corners of those panes, and it would look see-through, but you would tell that there was glass there. I'll have to do that one day to show you what I mean. But in this case, the glass is frosted and the light is on, so we're going to be brightening up the yellow after this dries. But for right now, I've got to put enough layers on to cover up the leaves in the background. But as I was painting this, I thought, oh, this would have looked really good painted as you could see the leaves in the background. But I went with my original design, like I had painted in the other rock originally, and this was frosted glass, or an opaque glass color. See, and even though a lot of this is covered up by the climbing roses, I'm still going to go ahead and put in this design and highlight the areas I think need to be highlighted, because you never know what's going to show through. And what makes it look a little bit more realistic is that you can kind of see the post in the back through the flowers and the vines. So that's that depth I'm always talking about. That's that layers. So now we're going to start on the climbing roses that are climbing up the post. And these I've added yellow. I'm warming them up as we come to the foreground. If you want to push things back, you mute them down to like a gray or a blue, real dusty gray blue or gray greens. That's going to push things back away from the viewer. And then when you add anything that's warm, like reds and yellows and oranges, it's going to pull it closer to the viewer. So now I'm just going to be hitting these leaves with a lot of different colors of green. Because it's closer, I want a lot of different colors so that it doesn't look flat. And this is going to be, you'll watch, I'm going to do layers of light colored leaves, then I'm going to go in and I'm going to add dark, and then I'm going to go back and add light, and I'm going to go back and add dark. And it's kind of this push-pull with the lights and the darks, trying to find the right balance. But right now I'm really just scrubbing in color. This is just, I've got to get the vines on there, and then I can start being more deliberate in my color choices and my brush strokes. But I'm still dancing my paintbrush around like before in X's and in commas, instead of just painting like a blob on there and then trying to indicate leaves. I still want that mottled look, because that's going to help with that depth, the depth of the vines and the trees. And so now going on to paint the roses. So I'm painting open roses and some rose buds, and this is really just grouping of dots is really all it is. I'm just making different shapes to indicate roses that are, you know, facing forward, facing to the side, facing away. You know, you just want a bunch of random shapes. So now I've got some white to make a little bit of a pink to hit each one of these flowers. So that there's kind of a highlight and a shadow on each flower. And then some of the flowers are going to be pink, some of the flowers are going to be red. You know, and you want some that are small little bud shapes, and you want some that are bigger, like they're fully opened. Just a bunch of randomness is really all it is. So now I'm going to start working on my darks, and I'm going to go underneath each one of these flowers and add in some dark leaves. But see, as I do this, you start losing some of the light color, the light leaves. And that's okay, because we're going to come back with another color that's a brighter green, and we're going to go back over those darks. And then I'm going to hit those, I'm going to go over the light areas, and I'm going to hit them with the even darker dark. So it's, again, it's this push-pull with the darks and lights. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to push that background way back by adding mist, because I want this to look really foggy. So what I've done is I've watered down some white, titanium white, and I've separated it over here on my palette. But then I dried my brush, and I'm just picking up a little bit of the paint. So my brush is dry, the paint is slightly wet, and then I'm scrumbling, so scrubbing it onto the rock. And you're going to watch here, right there, I pick up way too much paint, and you can kind of tell that it's a little bit wet. And so you want to kind of try to avoid that until you get this method of glazing down. But you don't want to see like your brush strokes. You just want it to kind of, it kind of goes on and just starts making everything look cloudy, because I want it to look really misty back there. So now I'm just building that misty layer up on these sides. And now I'm going to add the glow from the light. So this is just yellow to glow around this light. Sorry, my phone keeps going off. And that was done the exact same way I did the mist in the background. So now I'm taking a dark color, and I'm going to add some bushes that are even closer. That's going to push that misty background back even further. So now I'm going to go back to, it looks like I'm going to, yeah, work on the, now see, I'm a lot more deliberate with my brush strokes here. And that's right on the edges of the plant is where I'm really being more specific with my brush strokes, more deliberate. Here I'm adding some white flowers, some really light pink flowers. Going back over the red because the yellow kind of muted down that red, so I'm just brightening that back up. So now I'm going to take that black, and I need to put in the indication of the post back there. So right here in the center, I'm going to add a lot more dark. This is almost, I think this is just actually black because I need the post area in the plant itself. You should be able to see indications of that post. So the center of it is going to be darker. But now I'm going back in and adding more leaves. See, and as the paint dries, that's why we'll go back over the same areas, because I may not have got it light enough, because as paint dries it darkens. So I needed to lighten it up even more than I had. So that's why you'll see me go over some of the same spots over and over again. So now this is very deliberate. I'm going in and adding specific leaf shapes by pushing with the tip. I push against the canvas and then I pull up real quick, and it creates kind of a comma, and it makes a perfect little leaf shape. So these are light colored leaves that I'm just putting on here random, but they're going to be a very specific leaf shape. Now I'm going back in with the dark one more time to make sure that my post is straight and wide enough. I want it to kind of flare at the bottom. So I need to make sure that I got the right shape. So I got to stand my rock up, make sure that it's dark in the right areas. So you can't see the post, but you can tell the post is there. And then I'm going to go back with a very light green, like a lime colored green, and I'm going to do those more deliberate leaf strokes again. So now you can tell that I'm making these little comma strokes, you know, pushing down and then pulling up really quick in a comma motion. So now looking it over, making sure there's nothing else I need to tweak. Fix some of these little plants, the little flowers. And then I looked at it for a few minutes and realized I probably needed to shade my glass up here. I needed some shadows on this glass, just on the left hand corners, and I made a glaze where I just added a little bit of brown to my yellow, and I got it a little, my glaze is a little too wet, so I struggle with it here for a minute, but I finally get it to work. So I hope you enjoyed this Patreon exclusive video. I just want to take a quick second and thank you so much for your support. It's greatly appreciated. Happy painting, and I'll see you in the next video.